Hello all, welcome Lime fam. Hi everybody. We've got a really special episode of the LimeCast for you today, and that is because I will be chatting with the absolutely wonderful Corin Smith of Carnival. Who is Corin, you might ask? Well, in her own words, I am a casting supervisor for Carnival Cruise Line, where I get to discover incredible talent and bring auditions to life. I don't take myself too seriously, but I'm deeply passionate about the work I do and the company I represent. I love creating opportunities for performers and fostering growth within the casting world, building connections, and enjoying the journey along the way. So let's hop to it. A 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, hi everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Corin.
Hi.
So excited to have you here with us today and to chat with you for a little bit. And firstly, just thanks so much to you and to Carnival for helping to facilitate this.
No, it's awesome. We're really excited. Yeah, it's going to be
Same.
great.
Amazing. So let's get started. And I think a good way to kind of get into our conversation would be to talk a little bit about you, if you don't mind. So how you got started in the cruise industry, and then how'd you go from cruise ship performer to a shoreside role to Carnival, or with Carnival.
Sure. So how I got started, probably like most people, I was auditioning for, various different jobs. I was working in Spain, in Mallorca. It's a small island. I was working there and really wanted to, work on cruise ships. It was always like a dream of mine to do that. So I went for, various auditions and went to every cruise line audition in London. And then, was kind of lucky and got successful and had some offers and read the contract and watched the shows online and picked Carnival without really knowing too much about it, about the company, about the brand. And then, yeah, joined Carnival, and it's been 10 years since I've worked for Carnival. So they're doing something right. I loved it. That's how I got started in the cruise industry. And it truly was like straight into it. I got the job, and then within 2 weeks, I was out rehearsing on the Carnival Paradise. Um, yes, that's how I got started. And then kind of my journey to the supervisor role with like Shoreside was all a little bit by default, but hard work went into it. But I took some time off in the pandemic, like I think most cruise ship performers did. And then knew I always wanted to come back to Carnival. I was a cast manager at the time. So that's, like the vocal captain, making sure that the cast have their schedule and all of that. And then I moved into the fleet cast manager, which is kind of like an install director. So was, installing the shows, managing teams. I think I had about 4 or 5 teams at the time. And then the casting and booking manager, Andy, she invited me to Barcelona to help assist with some vocal auditions because we were down the casting supervisor at the time. And I did that and really enjoyed it, and they enjoyed working with me. And then they asked me if I wanted to interview for the casting associate role, and so that's how I got into the shoreside position with Carnival. So it really was a case of right place, right time. But I actually think that it really fit the team that we had at the time. We really gelled, so I think it was just a natural segue into my next path. And I was 30 years old, at the time, and so I was like, I'm looking for the next stage in like hanging up the performing boots. And I think as a performer, if you get the opportunity to do that, you should just take it and take the opportunity where you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that it happened so quickly for you when you were auditioning and then you started with Carnival. Similar experience for me where I auditioned in New York and they were like, when do you want to start? And I was like, I don't know, like a month. And they're like, great, go get a medical. I feel like sometimes that's actually nicer. You don't have too much time to think about what
No,
you're doing. You're just like, okay, I got these
exactly.
4 things that I need to take care of in this paperwork. And then I go and do it. And then once you're on board, you're like, oh, this is what
Here
I
I am.
signed up for. Because
Yeah.
it is, I think, a leap of faith to at the beginning to be like,
Mhm.
it's going to be fun. I believe that it's going to be a great experience. I should just go and go and try it. And then I'm wondering when you were on board working as a performer, did you ever think that you would work in the head office, that you would be here now?
You know, it's funny. Second contract, my cast manager was like, "Would you ever think about being a cast manager?" And I was like, "No, no, that's not really something I'm looking to do right now." Like, I was enjoying myself. I just wanted to travel, and I didn't really want the responsibility. I was 23 at the time, and you're not really thinking about like how can I make this like a career move or in the business mindset. And then after that contract, I went home and I got a call from the company manager at the time, and he was like, "Hey, we've changed your flights. You're actually leaving to be the cast manager for the Magic. Can you go like 10 days earlier?" And I was like, I already had like a really short vacation, and most of the time people will like train with their current cast manager to like get all the, make sure that they know all of the computer stuff. Never did any of that. So it was again another like moment of, okay, let's just do this. And I do think that's the best way to just put yourself into it. And I don't think I ever at the time thought I would work shoreside, even then still. But I think that's what's the fun part about it, because it means that you're enjoying yourself and you love the company you work for. And I think if you love the company, you love the brand, and you love its values, then you're just going to kind of go with it. And then you slowly realize, oh, wait a minute, I have quite a significant role, and a little bit of imposter syndrome later, and you're just doing it. So I don't think I ever thought or knew that I would do this as a full-time career, but I couldn't be happier that I am now. So it's awesome.
That's great. I think there's some lovely humility there too, which is just that, like, between the imposter syndrome and just feeling like, well, I'm good here. I'm happy here. And then other people saying, well, you should think about taking the next step. And I feel like sometimes for people, it just happens. I think it's the product of hard work and being a certain kind of person where other supervisors look at you and say, she might be really good in a more important or a higher up role. And I think for other people, they really need to set their sights on it and go for it. But
for sure,
at least we're really happy that you ended up here and that we're working with you on the other side. And so maybe from here, we'll talk a little bit about Carnival and about what it means to be a performer on Carnival. And
sure.
so there's so many cruise lines out there. There are so many production departments that are similar to Playlist on Carnival. So what do you feel like makes the either vocalist or dancing or performing gig on Carnival different from other lines, and or for performers trying to figure out whether they should choose Carnival or a different line, what would you say to that?
For sure, they should always choose Carnival. No, I'm just kidding. I think for us, like our shows, I know that our shows are like leading in the industry. We work with, Broadway, West End caliber directors. And so the shows I don't think a lot of times our guests expect our shows to be so spectacular. It's this sort of stigma of it being a cruise ship show. But our shows are amazing. Really interactive, and I think our performers love that when they come to Carnival. I think that's the biggest thing that sells us as a company to work for. And then I think once the performers and the talent get to the studios and get to the ship, we really have this family atmosphere. It's a fun environment. We want our guests to have the best vacations. It's a lot of families that cruise with us. So I think when the performers get there, they realize, oh wow, like this job is really fun. The people care about us. It's one of the reasons why I've stayed with Carnival so long, is because we're treated really great. And I just think the environment that you work in is why our performers come back time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can attest to that too, because I started on Carnival. That was my first ship gig, and I loved the vibe, like the family. Yeah. I thought that. And having worked on other lines too, which is not to say that there aren't like wonderful things about every line, but I really always felt like there was just a really kind of wonderful warmth to the way that Carnival treats its entertainment staff. And I think it kept me there for a long time and made me want to become a musical director and made me want to stick around for that reason. And I think some of it is luck. Like some of it is the people that you get placed with, but I think after so many assignments on board, so many contracts, you start to see trends in the way that you're treated, and so I think that's definitely true. And I feel like Carnival has really put a ton of thought into the way that it is kind of pivoted and kind of updated itself with playlists too. Like
Yeah.
the shows they're really fun and hip and they have great energy. I remember when they were first moving from kind of the older model to like what you do now, and seeing the new shows and the way that it kind of combines costumes and set design and the screens, and just being really impressed. I mean, like and proud, I think,
Yeah.
to be part of Carnival, even though I wasn't part of the shows anymore, but I was still like, I wanted to go see them on my own time to watch them. And I feel like that says a lot about what Carnival is putting out.
No, definitely, and it's nice you say that, or recognise and notice that. And it's what's good about Carnival shows is we own them and we create them with the creative development team. So they're ours. So we're really proud to keep the integrity alive and honor the directors that helped create them. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's nice to have full control over that too, because some lines, of course, are using other companies. Again,
Yeah,
no judgment, but I think it really is
for
nice to
sure,
have full control over the product that you're putting out there. And
definitely.
and then, as a performer, aside from the technical skill that you need, right? Like as a vocalist, you need to be able to sing in different styles, and
Yeah,
whether you're a tenor or a soprano, like there are certain like very specific qualifications. But then in terms of soft skills, what do you look for, even if it's kind of hard to tell in, say, an audition tape? Like, what do you see, or what do you hope to see that will give you an idea of whether someone will have success on board?
yeah. I think, like, honestly, authenticity. I think that when someone comes in and they know who they are, they know how to market themselves, it really puts us, the casting team, at ease. And we think, okay, like, they've brought their individual style. That means that you're also adaptable, hardworking, and willing to grow with Carnival, because, as we said, Carnival is constantly evolving and growing. And I think the performers that are really successful in the audition room and in the studio and on our ships is the ones who know who they are. They are individual, so they're not frightened to, bring new ideas to the table. And then we are very feedback based in the audition room. So if something isn't working for, say, me and the casting associate who I work with, DJ, we'll just give them that feedback and ask them to adjust it so it maybe fits our brand a little better. And we're definitely not, if it's not what we see in the first instance, we move on and we see them out the door. So I think those are the ones that take the notes and adaptable for sure will be successful.
I think it's really kind and patient of you to not, I mean, there's so many casting directors and supervisors who they see 3 seconds of something that they don't like and they're like, next,
Yeah,
swipe left. What is it? Left, I think.
we've all
Yeah,
had that. Yeah.
right. Yeah. And so I think just the fact that you're like, well, maybe not now, or like I need to see more, but it's not a hard no. I think that's really wonderful for a lot of performers. It gives people a second chance to give you what you want.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I was a performer, right? And you're like, be your authentic self, and I'm like, but how do I do that? I mean, some performers, they'll probably be like, that makes total sense to me. I got it. But
Yeah.
what if I was like, I don't quite understand. I think I'm being authentic. Like, what should I try to do better or different, or think differently about this?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it comes down to, like, are you practicing too much? Are you overdoing your prep to the point where it doesn't seem natural anymore, And I think when someone comes in the room and they've looked at the material, they've read the brief and exactly what the casting team are looking for, simple things like, we want them to sing 2 of our Carnival songs to the track, because that's what our gig is. That's for vocalists, for example. If they really have rehearsed it and they feel confident and good about it, they're going to do a better audition altogether. So sometimes it's not about trying to be, authentic, because that might scare certain people. It's just preparation. Again, if you get the feedback, it's that adaptability of, okay, I'm not so fixated on one performance style. But yeah, it can scare a lot of people, and sometimes those people don't end up working for us, but they thrive in other areas. Like you said, other lines are out there for everyone. So
I think that makes a lot of sense, and it certainly, like, there's an important amount of prep that goes into it, right? Like you need to
right.
take the callback material, and
Hmm.
you need to put in the time, and we know that too. It's what we tell all of our
Yeah.
performers who get that material and who are hoping for a job with Carnival, but I think there's that ability, like a certain level of skill and confidence and like expertise and or experience where you can take the callback material and then still internalize it and make it into something that feels organic instead of like kind of like holding on to it so tightly that it is kind of awkward on camera or live. And I feel like that is, I think, sometimes hard to explain to people, but it's just
Hmm.
like if you have all of those like that combined skill set,
Hmm.
then you can internalize that and turn it into something that is beautiful on the
Yeah.
spot instead of it feeling like you're concentrating really hard on the specific choreo or that you're so worried about what you're doing that it just kind of comes across as less fluid or
Totally. And
less high level.
and sometimes like it's not something that I think performers maybe get a handle of until they have had a bit of life experience or they're a little older, or even now for myself, I probably think of auditions when I was performing and think, wow, I was so rigid, or I didn't quite have like the fluidity that I wanted to have. Um so yeah, it might be something that grows with the performer, and that's why I think Carnival is great, because we really we foster their skills too. We want them to grow as a performer. We're definitely not looking for the final product. We want to see them grow, and like I said, willing to grow. And so with that comes, you might have someone who's on their first contract working with someone who's on their sixth or seventh, and that's the beauty of it, because you take risks, and ultimately each guest has a different taste. We have a hugely diverse clientele, so it's like awesome that everyone sees someone like themselves on stage.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think it's just really great to give performers the opportunity to grow alongside other performers, and
100%.
that is something that I mean, just as a quick note, but like as a pianist, right? Like I was never on the ship with other pianists in the rock band because there's just one. For better or for
Right.
worse, I always feel like if I had to go to an audition where there were 30 pianists, I think I'd freak out. I have so much respect for like dancers and vocalists that like are just looking to their left and to their right, and everyone's doing the same thing that you're doing. But what is nice about being in a cast, among other things, is that you get to see other people who are doing the same thing as
Hmm.
you and learning from them. And I feel like that's an awesome experience.
I've
So
never thought of it like that, but it is true. We're definitely, in a room full of 30 singers, and you have to be a team player, but then also have the ability to stand out. So it's not easy what we're asking them to do.
no, it's tough to thread that needle, but totally worth it, and and an amazing experience that comes from it. And so one more question about
Hmm.
performers. So obviously there's appraisals that that kind of speak to
Yeah.
the way that a performer how they do over the course of the contract, both like technically speaking, but also like personality and soft skills, and so like what how do you measure success for performers on board, like when they're like these two sides of the equation, like what are you looking for in terms of when you're casting for future contracts, and like what you're hoping to see from performers that go out for, say, a first contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say about the on and off stage, because like that's exactly what Carnival wants to embody in a performer. For sure, they have to be talented on stage, but we always say, the guests don't always know what the most amazing pointed toe looks like, or the highest note needs to be like. But as long as it sounds good, and they enjoy it, and the guests are having fun, and I think our performers, we definitely want both on and off stage, so they have their evaluations that they get from their manager, and those are great for us to know where they're sitting, just in terms of like their skills.
Yeah.
But I think the offstage, we have obviously guest comments. So when we're looking at those new shows or the newer builds of ships, we think what team members not only are amazing on stage, but really bring the fun. I mean, Carnival's tagline is choose fun. So we want those types of performers. And I think in the audition room, someone who is, hardworking, but also dedicated, that can have a laugh along the way is definitely someone that's going to be successful. Because no one wants to be stuck on board for 6 months with someone who isn't as fun. It's a long stint. We've all been there. So yeah, we definitely value the on and off stage skills. It's part of their evaluations too, where we say, how are your values and making sure the guests are having a good time, because that's what it's about. It's guest vacations. It's the most important thing.
Yeah, truly. And it's so important to like the people that you work with on
Yeah.
board, because you can't escape them. They will
No.
always be there. And yeah, just to be able to take that into account when casting, I think is really great, because yeah, otherwise you just like, you can have a bunch of talented people and you're still not setting everybody up for success if you're including folks that either don't fit in, and I think from our perspective too, for performers to know that so much of it is about how you treat your cast members, and also how you treat the rest of the folks on board the ship, and how you treat the job. And
Right.
ideally you want someone who can kind of combine all of those skills together, that is amazing to watch on stage, but also is like super fun to have in the group, and is great for morale. And so it's nice to know that you're kind of holding those, I don't know, but equally, but like you're giving both of them weight as you make these decisions about who's coming back, and also who's going to be placed on like the higher profile ships too.
100%. It all matters. And I think if a performer's having fun on stage and there's someone who's just positive through and through and brings the fun and shows pride, you're going to enjoy that as a guest, to be like, oh, this person's like so fun. Like, I even saw it at, at a hockey game I was at like recently. There was a dancer and was just loving every single second of what they were doing. And they were a great dancer too. So that's like what we want. But it comes hand in hand. If you know that someone's fun on and off stage, you're like, oh, I just want to be around that person, So
Totally.
And we're so lucky we have so many of those types of talent on our ships. So we truly always people always find us and stay with us, and we're really grateful for that.
Yeah. You could just tell the people that are like really having fun, like they're really fun to watch, and also, I think even just like the performers, like being around the ship, and even like when guests want to talk to cast members, sometimes I think it can feel annoying, like you're still working there and you want to get to where you're going, but
there's no switch off.
There's no switch off. But at the same time, like talking to a guest for 2 minutes, they're like, hey, you were amazing 2 nights ago, you were in the shows, right? And then to spend the time with that guest and talk to them for 5 minutes and connect with them, that could make the guest's whole cruise.
Totally.
And so I feel like having performers again who know that it's worthwhile to have those conversations, even if they're not in the mood for it, or they're short on time. I think that's important too. It all kind of comes together. So from here, maybe just to talk a little bit about Carnival as a whole. So what makes Carnival unique as a cruise line, not just within the entertainment department, but like what would you say makes Carnival like uniquely Carnival, and what do guests often love about the ship, but also about the entertainment?
I think one of the things, when I was thinking about this, is that the question is, we have a huge like variety in our cast members. We also, our culture, again, I think that the performers love that in its unique style, and because our shows are so there's a lot of styles that we have to cover. I think our retention, and this goes hand in hand with performers but also guests, our retention is really strong. We have a lot of team members who return to us and just want to come back, and we love that. I know that maybe sometimes people say, I'm going to do one contract and then that's me, but there's a lot of people who when they come to Carnival, they stay because of all of the things that we've talked about. And I think our guests also love that. some of our guests follow certain talent or certain entertainment members. And I know I had that when I was a performer. I had people that would routinely cruise, and so I think the guests, but also having that in our performers who want to come back, it really creates again that family fun of you could go on one ship and be with the same family that you've seen 2 or 3 contracts. And I think the retention for the talent, but also for our guests, is really cool because it's that familiarity. When you go on a vacation, it's like, oh, I know this person. So I think
Yeah.
that's what makes us unique, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you like how did it make you feel when guests would come cruise to like find you or like figure out what ship you were on and then come not
Oh, really, really nice, actually. Like,
yeah.
it's nice that they want to spend their vacation. They obviously like you as a performer, or not even just the performers, right? Our bar staff, our fun squad, our youth department. It's all across the departments that we have people cruising, and I think it's lovely. It's really, really flattering, honestly. And not to get too egotistical about it, but it is nice, and they're in the audience and they're just loving it. So yeah, I thought it was really nice.
Absolutely. I think it says a lot about you, but also like, the kind of clientele that exists on Carnival. And I know that like we have some performers on roster who have a fan base and folks want to know where they're going. And so then they're like, hey, what about my next contract? Because I have people that are asking me, where are you going to be? We want to book.
Yeah.
And so I think that is really like just like a nice part of the culture and also like so much variety, like you were saying before. I mean, it's just there's so many options on board for entertainment that I feel like everyone's going to find something that
Oh
they
yeah.
like, whether it's musical or whether it's dance, whether it's the activities that the Fun Squad does. There's a combination of all of them. But I was always proud of Carnival in that way that I could walk around Promenade and just see so much happening. You want to
Yeah.
dance with the Latin band, or you want to sing along with the piano bar entertainer, or the guitar soloist, or find the rock band somewhere, or see the shows, and so on and so on.
There's something for everyone. If you have a family where everyone likes to do different things, it's all there on one ship. So it's super cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what would you say, as much as you can say, what the future of Carnival looks like? Like, what are you excited about, and how do you see it?
So much. I think we're so busy. We're the biggest cruise line. We have so many ships in our fleet. The future's bright. We're growing. We obviously just had the transition with P&O Australia, which we acquired some ships, which is awesome. So that was super
More
successful.
casting,
Right, more casting.
but
Don't worry.
overall, yeah, overall still great and exciting.
Oh yeah, no, amazing, and we got different talent there because we had a lot of the P&O talent come to us. So again, great to just grow in that respect. And then we have our XL4 and XL5 ships coming out. So our biggest class of ship, and that'll be the Tropical and the Festival. So we're super excited for those to roll out pretty soon. So the future is definitely bright,
Yeah.
but busy.
Yeah, both, and fun that Carnival is bringing back, these like some of its earliest ships, but just like
Yeah,
in like mega sized now. It's just
right.
like let's take what we had and just like just
Multiply it.
restore it and multiply it, and so yeah, fun to see and hear about those ships that are coming back. Like those are ships in like the conversation of like what happened a long time ago in Carnival, and it's like no, we're bringing them back with a bang. So
For sure. No,
yeah,
we're excited about those rollouts for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. I mean, same thing with Mardi Gras, etc. Yeah, just like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
new and
yeah.
improved. Like check out this version. Yeah. In terms of working for Carnival, do you have a favorite part of working shoreside? Of being on this side of operations after being a performer for so long?
I think, well, the people that I work with are, just some of my closest friends. So that's one of the things that it's so nice to be with people that you really feel comfortable around, but also like it's that professionalism. And then I think it sounds really cheesy, but just making dreams come true. I mean, honestly, when you meet someone and it's their dream to work on a cruise ship, or they're just desperate to work in a performing capacity, and we can make that happen for them, that truly is the best feeling. Because, you know, I know how it felt for me when I was given my first job and I told my family and they were also excited. So that's the nicest part. And then they, you know, on Instagram, they follow you and then you see their families go on board and the shared enjoyment. So for me, it's just, it's making people fill out their dream, live
Yeah.
out their dream.
You have so much power, Corin. It's
No.
not to let it go to your head, but I mean, you're truly like you are specifically responsible for a lot of people like changing their lives,
That's pressure.
like live. No, sorry, no, I. But it really is amazing. Like it's amazing to be in that position where you can say like, yes, we would love you to come work for Carnival, and
Yeah.
again, like maybe that's just kind of not a blip on somebody's radar, but you know, maybe it's they do one contract and they like it, and great. But maybe that changes the entire course of their life. I mean, like that's what we try to tell our performers is just like you really never know. And
You don't. And not to like boast about myself, because I always say that we need the talent as much as they need the job, right? So like they want the job as much as we need them. And I think sometimes there can be that there maybe isn't that vibe in the room, and it can feel like you're, you know, sort of pitching yourself for the job, which is effectively what it is. But
right.
we've had talent who has come into audition for us, and I've thought to myself, wow, they're going to have an amazing career. And then they do a contract with Carnival, and some of them are on the West End, or even some of them have gone on to do, you know, Broadway tours, and that's really cool to be like, wow, I gave them their first job. I mean, it's happened to me directly, so it's nice to be like, oh, I believed in them at a time when maybe others didn't or didn't want to take the chance on them. So I've definitely had those moments of, yeah, that's really cool to be a part of that person's story.
Ah, so amazing to have facilitated that.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm also really jealous. You know, like we worked with musicians at Lime for over a decade, and then you know when we started we started Lime on Stage, like our casting department, and we would hear about the way that the folks at Lime HQ would work with our performers there and make job offers, and they just like scream and shout. You know, musicians tend to be a little bit more
Reserved.
chill. You know, where I would call someone and be like, "Hey, we got this contract for you. You know, it's 4 months. You start in Australia, you end in Europe, going through the Suez Canal." And they're like, "Yeah, cool. I'll think about it." And meanwhile, you know, like we offer a vocalist like a casting gig, and they're just like, it's like they're screaming so loud. You're like, just, you know, when you're ready, we'll keep talking about the
We
opportunity.
always bring the drama.
Yeah,
that
no,
people
I'm jealous of it. It's such a lovely way to be like to appreciate and be appreciative of an opportunity, and yeah, I wish that everybody would react sometimes with like, you know, a 32-second scream of joy.
I hope we never lose that. You know, that's one of the cool parts about our job is it's really exciting when you get those opportunities. And I don't know if in other jobs that there's that same excitement. And I hope we don't lose that as an industry of like really truly being grateful for like, wow, I'm about to embark on an amazing career.
Yeah, I agree. It's I think one of the best parts of the industry that we're in is that kind of excitement and joy that comes from these opportunities. So just to kind of wrap up here, last kind of set of questions, which is in terms of performers applying so that they can then scream and jump for joy. What would your advice be? What do you wish that performers knew before applying, and or like what skills, trends, and concepts should up and coming performers be paying attention to if they want to be successful out at sea?
No, for sure. We've kind of touched on it, but I do think it still stands as know who you are, bring your best self. And that doesn't mean you have to be the best full finished package. But, you know, if your prep's there, you're going to bring the best version you can bring on that day. And I really think that that's the best way to present yourself to the audition panel. I mean, a little bit about the performers and what we ask for is we're looking for those triple threats. So if people are looking to, you know, extend any skills, it would definitely be if you're a singer, you know, keep going to dance classes because it's always going to help. If you're a dancer, keep singing, keep doing harmony work. We never want to do the skill that we don't think is our best. We always want to practice our best skills. So definitely keep honing those skills. And I think like the industry is going in that direction as it already is. And I think Carnival playlist performer, we are looking for that individuality, but also the triple threat performers of dancers who can sing and singers who can dance. And in our audition room, we have 8 cast members that we're looking for any one ship. So if we have someone who can, as a dancer, step in as a singer, that really is going to set them apart from the best dancers in the room. And then for the singers, again, if they have that, they're able to hold down a dancer track. It's going to again increase their chances of working for us. And with our XL class ships, we have aerial on there, some aerial artists. So we definitely have had dancers who have started with minimal aerial and then moved up the ranks to level 2s and now even level 3s, which is our highest level of aerial. So all of those skills combined is what they need, which sounds like we're looking for unicorns, which we are. But if they can really grow in those skills, if they're not already doing that, it's gonna be great for what Carnival asks for.
Absolutely. It's, if you're, I think that's just great advice to end on, which is there is something to be said for specializing and working really hard at one craft. But yeah, I feel like in this day and age, and I was just having this conversation because it pertains to musicians as well, for example, like, if you're an instrumentalist, do you sing? If you're a singer, do you play? If
100%.
If not, work on those things now. And yeah, if you're a dancer and you can sing, if you're a vocalist but you can move, man, that's a way to not just level up, but stand out from the crowd. And more, I think industry wide, we see this too, where it's just like you kind of need to be able to do everything. And when you're up against a lot of other people, like that's how you shine, is saying like, I can do both of these things. And then if you can do tricks, if you can do aerial, if you can tumble, like all of these extras, if you can tap, if you can, like whatever skill set you have that combined makes you unusual, turns you more into brings you closer to that unicorn status, than
Definitely.
you're just upping your chances to get hired certainly by Carnival, among others.
Absolutely. And we've even had performers who have started as a dancer and then now they're singers with us. We've had performers who start as a dancer and they're a singer, now they're a cast manager. And, so it's really about like, okay, like we said, you can foster a career here, but you can also improve those skills and then become something you never thought, you would be. So yeah, we're lucky to have the stepping stones here at Carnival to allow that.
Absolutely. Corin, thank you so much for hanging out for a bit. I know you're flying today, right? So it's there's no light day for you, I know, and you're constantly busy and working on a ton of projects, but even more so, so appreciative of you spending time with us today. And again, a huge thanks to Carnival for helping and wanting to do this, because I think it will really benefit a lot of people who are listening, who are interested in working for Carnival, and hopefully, I know you're going to continue to get lots of wonderful applicants, hopefully some at least from us, and
For sure.
And super excited to continue to work together. It has been a pleasure, and I know how much our Lime on Stage team loves working with you. So.
Oh, thanks for having me and having Carnival. It's nice to get our name out there even more. We love working with you and everyone at Lime. So thank you.
All right. Yeah, of course. Well, travel safe today, and I'm sure we'll speak soon. Thanks again to everybody who's listening, and thanks, Corin. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.